Jacksonville, at the Gator Bowl, and they'll sell product at the Gator Bowl, and then another group will go down to Miami and sell product there. So it's the same guys, and you can tell by the styles of the product that they do. And after a while, it's obvious who it is and who it is.
I'm going to Jacksonville tomorrow, so I'll keep my eye out.
Get it.
Wow, that sounds like an intricate business that has, they've got printers, they've got T-shirt providers, probably all along that corridor, right?
Yeah, it goes kind of back to what we were talking about, the quality of the product. So you can go buy a bunch of product with cut tags,
Right.
really cheap, and that's what they're printing on. A lot of
right.
how
It's not hard to figure out.
how we know
That's
that
a common question. Yeah.
How we know product is the hologram that you see on Collegiate product, that has our logo on it, that logo in the top left. That's the first indicator that's licensed, but now bootleggers or the infringers are getting a little more creative, and I would say bold.
Yeah.
They've actually started to knock off our hologram. So this past year and a half, we've worked with another company within William Morris Endeavor and ING College called J Patent Sports Marketing. This is another cool group too that I would urge you guys to look into. But they create the holograms, and they also produce the logo slicks that we use to review artwork. But they have created a bunch of different security features on the new hologram. You'll see now there's some blue elements to it. There might be a watermark, and then so if you look at a dollar bill, you know, there's a little spider at the top. I don't know if you guys are going to look at it. There's different things that we can tell that we know when we're looking at the hologram to know if it's a knockoff or not, and then that will tell us if it's a knockoff.
Cut tags to blue screen printing is pretty bad. I should have run a couple of examples. I just got
Misspelled university names. They'll put
That's the
student
worst.
athlete names on the product. That's all that they're doing.
What's the name of the company you just mentioned?
J Patent Sports Marketing.
I've seen universities misspell jerseys though. So
Happens all the time. Happens all the time.
Yeah.
Happens. Majestic did it with Washington Nationals this year. There's a guy that walked out, didn't have an O in Nationals, said Nationals. West Virginia won the NIT a couple years ago, and they forgot the last I in Virginia, which totally changes the meaning of the name. And then what else?
Olin, you had to go there.
I did, but Michigan State, this is one of my favorite ones. We don't represent Michigan State, so I laugh at this one. They made it to the Final Four in Detroit, which is real close to Lansing. And Nike, who's their sideline provider, misspelled Michigan. So they put probably 150,000 shirts into the marketplace that said Michigan State. Yeah, and people were still buying it. That's the thing. People still buy that stuff.
Well, yeah, now you buy it because it's like, oh, it's a collector's item, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So if you can remember, what were you most nervous about when you graduated, or when you were about to graduate college?
That's a good question. So I grew up in the Northeast. I went to school at the University of Illinois and worked in the athletic department. I had multiple jobs working for the athletic director, for football, or you know, just general athletic administrative stuff. And I distinctly remember asking somebody in the athletic department who I admired and really enjoyed working with and thought his job was the coolest thing. And I said, "How did you get your job?" He said, "I went to graduate school." And I was like, "Well, that's easy enough. Yes, I'm off for another 2 years." So as scared as I wasn't, because I was like, "Oh, I like school," and he says go to grad school, so I'm going to go to grad school. So that's what I did.
What did you major in?
My undergrad.
Yeah, undergrad and
All right, so my undergraduate degree is in finance. Random. I just accumulated a bunch of credits.
You're in numbers a lot now too, right?
Oh God, yes. But I was like, they're like, oh, you're only a few classes from a finance degree. I thought, okay, that's pretty good. But knew I wanted to work in sports, and so finance, pretty big, you know, good degree to have. But I knew I was going to go to grad school, so I did. So then I went down to the University of Miami in Florida for graduate school, which was very scary because I'd never been to Miami before, and here I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go to school there, awesome. So I did. I just packed up and went after graduation. And
What did you study?
I studied sports administration, and it was awesome. It was probably one of the scariest, but one of the best decisions I've ever made.
So when you finally got done studying for 6 years, what were you afraid of getting out of school?
When I was in grad school, and this is my big piece of advice. I know it's not worth much, but it's worth something. I interned like crazy in graduate school. I took full advantage of every opportunity that we had, whether it was a short internship or a long one, I did it. So I worked in the athletic department at Miami, which was a great experience. It's tiny, it is not what you think it is. No, I'm serious, it's not, it's a tiny school. And coming from a Big Ten school, it was, whoa, this is not the Miami that everyone
You
thinks it
said
is.
Florida International?
Hmm?
You said Florida
No,
International?
University of Miami, so like 5 miles.
Florida
north of
International is like 3 times as big as.
It is,
Miami.
yeah.
That is private school.
Almost
So.
tiny. So I worked in athletics. Miami being a big market, you guys aren't far from Atlanta, so you guys are gonna have similar opportunities. But worked at the NASCAR track in Miami for 6 months and got to go through several race weekends to see how that all works. We had opportunities to work for the Florida Panthers, hockey. You could have worked for the Miami Heat. I had coworkers that did that. So it's just an awesome, I also did tennis. So like well now it's weird, 'cause it's like IMG owned tennis event. Worked that for years and did ticketing and just got as much experience as I could. So I knew getting out of school, okay, I liked this, but I didn't really like this, but I liked this. Oh, and I met these people and they said, hey, if you ever need help, we're here to help you. So that was awesome. Network. Do the best you can wherever you are, and take full advantage of the opportunities around. You may think, you know what, I really could care less about learning, working with vendors who make t-shirts. Guess what though? It's been incredible experience just to learn even how a design process goes and what companies do before they, everything that when something hits the floor, it's likely that it's taken a year, 18 months to get it there. And to see that process kind of go from start to finish on product now is pretty incredible. And that's not sports related, that's just fashion, design, consumer purchase goods. I mean, it's crazy. So when I left Miami, I had a job in Miami for a while. And then I moved to Chicago and did some sales. Who doesn't need sales experience? It's incredibly valuable. I was good at it, but I hated it. So I got back into sports and eventually made my way to CLC. So it's pretty awesome. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot of moving. The other thing, if you want to work in sports, just kind of 2 thought process. Either you move because it's like the greatest job, but you may be in who knows where, or you kind of pick a region and you may settle for a job that you're like, okay, but I'm in the area that I want to be in. I have friends that I went to graduate school. I mean, it's true. I have friends that I went to graduate school who have moved everywhere from Miami to New Hampshire, Alabama, and that was all in like a maybe 3-year period.
Or you look out and get both.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It sounds like that's what you have, right?
I kind of fell into it. My background, my dad worked at, so he's in Georgia. The 7th family graduated from the University of Georgia, so don't hold that against me when I tell you this next part. My dad worked at Georgia Tech for 20 years in the communications department. And as luck would have it, the licensing director sat right next to my dad. So the person that was on campus that does all the stuff that we do on a daily basis for Georgia Tech, I've known her since probably 5th grade. And this goes back to the networking thing. She found out I was a sports communications major, and I wanted to be on Sports Center. I thought that would be so cool. But now, I'm actually doing pretty good right now, but if I knew, if that camera had just popped up back there, I would have freaked out and I wouldn't have been able to talk. Like, I was camera shy. So I was like, let's find something different. And she said, hey, this group in Atlanta, CLC, has a paid internship. So you can live at home for the summer, save all the money, work there, get some good experience, and decide if that's what you really want to do. And that summer was terrible. It was, I didn't have air conditioning in the car, and my parents had moved from where I grew up in Atlanta to another part. And so it was weird. It was kind of like moving to another town. But then the other thing I didn't realize was when you're an intern, that doesn't mean you're actually going and closing deals or actually reviewing artwork. You are, I don't want to say you're getting the coffee, but you're doing things that nobody else wants to do. And you have to keep a good attitude through all of that. So, you know, making the copies or making sure that all the insurance is right for a company. And then you just start asking questions of the people that are in this position. And what I've found through all of it is nobody was, in our company at least, was too big for the position. You know what I mean? So you could go to the president of the company and say, hey, can we go grab some lunch? And I'm knowing full well that he would need to pay for it, right? So at that same time, hey, we can ask a couple of questions, you know, but we can go to Wendy's, it's cool. You know, I'll keep it cheap, but I do want to ask these questions of you. You just work the ladder, and you just got to sell yourself. And I would
But
say
your work should sell yourself too.
absolutely. I would
It's
say
not so much necessarily what you say, sorry to interrupt,
No,
but it's
okay.
a lot of what you do. It's your
Right.
attitude when given projects, it's your attitude when working with other people. That's the stuff that's gonna stick with you and hope, you know, at the end of an internship, if you don't get there's not a job to be had, guess what, if you've done a great job, somebody's gonna know somebody that can put you in touch or, you know, give you an awesome recommendation. I mean, those are huge too.
Yeah.
So, I think that's.
no, I would say my biggest thing is show up early and stay late.
Not 9 to 5 anymore.
No.
What'd you get your degree in? Was it marketing?
I was a sports communications major. I kind of was a hybrid major at the time at Georgia, and I spent half of my time taking sports law classes and sports marketing and sports administration courses, and then the other half of my time was in the journalism school. But no licensing. Nobody knew about it. This was the biggest surprise. I was like, hey, really? You can make money off that? You guys ever seen Office Space? You know what movie I'm talking about? No?
He's
Oh,
the
Really?
All right, so that's your homework.
Jim,
Now I'll watch Office Space. It's kind of how our business is kind of based, I would say loosely based on the scam that they ran in that movie, which is they made 0.5% off of every transaction. They had set up this system to peel off 0.5% off
What
every
the-
transaction.
That was illegal.
No, I understand that. We do that
That's
legally.
illegal.
We do that by contract legally. That was insane. So.
But it was a good
We
movie.
take, that's how, we have so many properties that when you add up the small amounts that each group makes, it makes a larger sum, and that's what makes it business. I said legally,
Yeah.
so.
Just wanna be sure everyone heard that. So
Yeah.
we are a legal business, I promise.
So y'all are scam lords.
No,
Scam.
we're not. The bootleggers think we are.
Well, yeah. Any other questions? We're happy
We're
to
open
help. It
books,
wasn't-
for sure.
yeah.
What do you got?
Talking about like the international side of this next year, what do you do?
So we have
We can-
two. Oh, thanks.
You want to be more specific and say Germany?
Yeah, I mean, ING has offices everywhere. In fact, the guy that just started, so we have 3 people on our international staff that work out of our Atlanta office. One guy actually worked at our ING London office for a summer. He interned there for a summer and then was hired full-time. But I would absolutely suggest that you look into, that's the other thing. If you guys really want to look at internships with our company, ingcollege.com. It might not be with CLC, but it might.
Yeah, it's huge.
You go to ingcollege.com and then click on the careers tab, and you can sign up for the intern program, and you can submit your resume, and they'll bring you in. But it might not be in licensing, it might be at our ING academies, or it might be with the events where you're working, for the hospitality group. But you can touch every different part in the company. There's other companies in Atlanta that are in sports, obviously the Hawks and the Braves and the Falcons. There's another group called CSE Sports or Career Sports. There's a lot of talent representation there. They represent like John Smoltz and Jeff Rinford and Bobby Cox, obviously Braves. But they also do some event management, some work with NASCAR. And then there's some other agencies that, I mean, if you just spend some time Googling and being a bunch of stuff to come up, and you just gotta call and make yourself, and this is what my old boss said before he left, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Be annoying to these people when you're trying to get in. If you're really serious about it, but call them every day. Come up with a different excuse why you're calling every day. Seriously. Because they're gonna start listening to you. Pretty soon, like, if I can get you to shut up, I'll bring you in here and you work, and that's how you get in, so. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's not how I got that. Really hard. Any other brain busters?
say they moved to Montana and they kind of want to take over that Midwest region,
Mhm.
that north
Uh-huh.
region. Would y'all take that position and kind of move there, or would you want to stay in Atlanta and keep doing what you're doing?
That's a good question.
That is a great question.
Because I think you may get two very different answers.
Yeah, I would stay in Atlanta and find something else. I mean, I love my job, but there's some circumstances in my life that keep me here. So, it's funny that you just picked Michigan and Montana. They kind of made me laugh considering about, can you talk about it?
What?
About Michigan? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's signed. We
Yeah.
just haven't done the press release on it.
Right.
We just signed a 10-year extension with Michigan, and doesn't sound like much, but in our world, that's incredible. 10 years, that is a long agreement to do it with a big public institution like Michigan, big licensing program. That's a huge deal, so.
There's actually an opportunity to potentially move to
There is
Michigan as well.
yes, there is. We're going to be hiring a position in Michigan, and we will be working with the licensing director at Michigan. And it ain't gonna be me, but.
No, but I'm saying,
but that is,
there are
out there.
jobs that open up
Yeah.
like that, and then we have somebody on our staff that works out of her house in Montana too, so that's.
Correct, so the 2 states you picked are really. Well,
But to-
Olin would stay. I have the liberty, I'm on the road all the time, I feel like all the time anyway, so, with the exception of maybe a few places, I see my boss being like, no, you find a new job. But if I were to turn around and be like, hey, I need to move to Chicago, that's in my, hopefully someday, if that happens,
It's a no-brainer.
he says, yeah, that's a no-brainer. That's gonna cut down on my travel costs. You're gonna be able to get to your clients a lot faster.
But it makes it more difficult for us to
Correct.
depend on the inter-office relationship, having to go to her and ask questions of her properties. It becomes more and more difficult when the reps are not in our office. And traveling's fine, but when they're not there all the time, it's
You
much
just
difficult.
days.
That's it. But I think the other thing is what stops somebody from going and setting up a company in Idaho and taking over those companies, the relationships that they have with the folks on our staff. A relationship will take precedent over distance every day in our world.
Well-
We get it.
Kick off, 5 minutes.
I think it's the 8th game of the World Series tonight. Boy, I'm trying to come back and tie it. Thank you very much. I appreciate the all the information that you provided. I appreciate it. I would highly recommend that you at least on your way out say hello, introduce yourself, and have a good rest of the week.
Oh, yeah. We can just leave a stack of cards too if you don't want to chat with us before we get it. We're intimidating crew. I mean, ask the infringers that get to deal with us every weekend. I don't have one.
I have plenty of jobs for you in Brazil, but that would be a lot more scary. You just get shot.
Perfect.
Non-renal addiction.
I'm good.
I see why people would get really upset. It's nice to
See, the thing is,
not making that.
the thing is, like, she. Huh? I even thought that would be prank, because like, if they don't know, if it's just like one of those scammers that do this for a living, they know that people are bound to show up, and if you're just.
Taking my stuff.
Yeah.
Especially because they do it at like tailgates and stuff. You can only imagine how awesome.
In the office? Yeah.
Good question.